Hey guys, sorry. First of all, I want to apologize for this video, and it's been way overdue. I promise you guys I will upload sometime maybe in May, but I guess I've been lazy because work has been pretty hectic. I just recently finished a pretty big project for my boss, which revolves around Excel Power Pivot, and I had to rewrite the code from from Excel VBA, and VBA is such a hassle. And I had to rewrite it from VBA to Power Pivot into Power Pivot to create tables in Power Pivot, which is using SQL queries. And I got it to run, and it's my fourth month in this company, and I'm proud of myself. On my 90-day review, I got a exceed expectation of my skills, and I'm happy about that. But yeah, it's been pretty tough, I would say. Like especially when I started, because I after I started for 1 week, I had to do the telework thing. I gotta say right now, I really like teleworking, because it's just, you get a lot more freedom. You don't necessarily have to focus 24/7. You can actually, like if you want to, you can watch YouTube videos and look at Teams and wait for your meetings and stuff. But, like just, it's very flexible and I like it, um, I would say definitely, it's been pretty, there's a hassle for all of us. So for those of you who has to endure this pandemic, a lot of people lost their jobs, and I'm fortunate enough to have a job that I can telework and and I get paid. So I guess I can't complain too much, but it does create like an inconvenience for me because a lot of the colleagues that I have meetings with them, virtual meetings, that is all the time, and I don't even know what they look like. And yeah, like I told you guys, I was given like an assignment I think 2 weeks ago, and I had to rewrite the basically the form from VBA code to Power Pivot to SQL query. So it's a very last minute thing, and I didn't have clearance to the production database. So right now, like inside SQL Server, I have access to my own database, but it's not like, yeah, I didn't have access to production until the very last minute. But yeah, I'll tell you guys about it in details later. But yeah, I just want to apologize for not uploading it in May, and just pandemic and work got overwhelmed. So, but yeah, I'm here. So I promise. So I promise that so I'll today I'll talk about what I do every day as a data analyst working in DC, in Washington DC, and what I do and the apps, the languages that I use, so and how I anticipated it like differently back in college. So for those of you who didn't watch my last video, I got a master's degree here in DC. I went to American University. I graduated with a master's degree in quantitative analysis. I didn't do quant, but I'm a DA now. So I back in college, my study has been mostly academic related. So I was doing research with my professor back in grad school. So what I did was I did a Bayesian research so yeah, if you're interested, just Google what Bayesian statistics is. And I did Bayesian research back in grad school, and it was mostly using Stan, and it's about like building, priors, posteriors, Bayesian stuff, and it's very academic. And I helped build like a package inside RStudio, so it's basically variational based. And I had anticipated coming to work, I will be probably doing the same thing, but it's actually very different. It's like Excel ended up. I never knew Excel could be so powerful. Like back in college, we kind of had this stigma that Excel is stupid. For mostly for business people, for STEM wannabes. But that could not be more wrong, because coming into work, Excel actually managed to take up 70% of my work, and I do a lot of, and Excel can be really, really powerful if you delve deep into it. You can use a lot of sum if function, you can generate a reactive table, use pivot table, and it's just so smart. Count ifs, sum ifs, those are some of the most powerful codes I've written, and it's just all the government reports I had to submit to the government. It's called the DHCF. I submit, for those of you who know, I submit claims report to DHCF, Department of Healthcare Finance. But it's just everything is using Excel. Like it's become like it's just so useful. That's why everything the company does, everything we use Microsoft products. Like our SQL, we use Microsoft SQL, and our we're gonna be touching Power BI soon in the future. So it's just Excel end up taking 70% of my work. This is what and I expected back in college that I'll be using a lot of R. And so far, working as a DA, I haven't really touched a lot of R to be honest. My company does really like my R skill. Remember, I when I interviewed, they asked me to present one of my Shiny projects. So Shiny is basically like a web thing, like an app thing you can build inside, like a user interface you can build inside R, right? So I was asked to present one of my Shiny projects, but like so far my company, they're trying to have me build a Shiny app too, but that is in the very recent, very like kind of distant future. So that's another thing I want to touch is that companies like the rhythm is very different from college. So in college, like every day you you go to class, your assignment, you go to work. I was a TA, so I go to work and just like every day there's things to do, and there's things goes from like having some very trivial homework to do and to really, really busy, have to put an all-nighter and it's just all over the place. But overall it's very fulfilling, at least for me as a, statistics masters. But working is a little different because a lot of times like to wait for the data, there's a lot of red tapes. For example, I work in DC, there's a lot of government data that, like not to knock on the US government, but like their system is pretty outdated. Like even though right now I deal with the government stuff, a lot of them still use FTP, which has been like almost obsolete. And like I told you guys, like our Excel code, we still use VBA, but recently I have successfully translated some VBA codes into Microsoft SQL Server. So yeah, like I said, it's just pretty outdated what the US government uses. Unfortunately, we have to put up with it. And yeah, and sometimes there's a lot to do, it's just really busy. Like my boss just say, hey, Sam, I want you to touch this stuff and I want you to give me like a report by Friday and something. The deadline's Friday and you just have to apply yourself. And I sometimes I was watching Netflix one night and my boss just called me, oh, Sam, your data is so wrong. I was like, oh, that's actually not wrong. It's showing up as a null value, but it just shows as an empty box in Power Pivot, stuff like that. It's all over the place working, but sometimes you get nothing to do. So I remember there was and sometime in April, I basically, I was not doing anything because we were waiting for this data system migration, and I wasn't really just doing nothing. Literally just stare at screen, probably trying to learn some Power Pivot. And to be honest, I was a little frustrated because I was like, wow, like I'm not doing anything. I don't feel my worth because I feel like as human beings, we need to work to at least as as a person living in the US. I think we have this culture to work and to prove our self-worth. And if we're not working, even though we get paid, we don't feel our worth and we get depressed, we get everything. But still, it's like, but yeah, like just we need to prove our worth and we need to be working and just, like if we're not working, we get really depressed. So but in the real world, like we have to wait. Everything is just, you have to be patient because the data sometimes if they're in migration, we're basically in a hiatus. We're not doing anything. So like I said, sometimes it's super, super busy. Sometimes it's super, super relaxed, like chill, doing nothing. But the good thing is I still get paid. And in this pandemic, in the teleworking environment, I guess that's the best case scenario. So I'm not complaining, but it's just like, it's very different from college. So if you're like a very productive college student and you decide to work, and you might feel a little disappointed because like not all the time there's going to be a lot of work. And when there's work, it's like you solving real world problems, and real world problems are not as hard as college. A lot of the good schools, like I know Carnegie Mellon, they will make, if they're like a statistics major, they will make their problems like real unrealistic hard. So if you're used to solving those problems, real life might be a little too boring for you or you can become a data scientist. That's when they build models. I feel as a DA, a data analyst, you don't really get to build a lot of models, at least for now. As a junior data analyst, it's more like a data scientist thing because I have a friend, he's working as a data scientist and he's doing all the model stuff. So So yeah, so first of all, like I said, 70% of my work has been Excel, and 25% I would say has been SQL, Microsoft SQL. The row number thing. Like Microsoft SQL, for some reason, it doesn't show up the rows. You have to get to create your own row numbers, and it's a huge hassle. But you don't have that in NoSQL or Postgre. But Microsoft, unfortunately, you have to create your own row number, but which is so first of all, I want to give you an example of the SQL problems I'm doing. So part one will be SQL. And yeah, I'm just going to load onto my company computer. And I'm going to quickly log on. So this is a Hansen image of me here. I'm going to quickly log on. No. So imagine the company gives you two data sets, right? So imagine the company gives you two data sets. So one of them is actually it gives you something like this, right? It shows up the player numbers, and the IDs and the date, the start date and the end date. And the other, it shows you the names, right? And the names and the IDs, right? So you have to create a table by joining these two tables. You have to summarize a person's career, right? Summarize a person's career, and then to say which player has the longest career. So these data are all simulated. These are not real data, but I'm just saying. So instead of having athlete data, we'll have patient data. So in real life, I do patient data, but I created an athlete data just to give you guys a clear idea. So what you'd be doing, like me as a data analyst, is you would write queries. And then you would use like the date function to create the difference in dates, and then you would use inner join, and of course you have to create the row numbers, which is a huge hassle. And yeah, and then you have to just keep testing, get rid of the duplicates, and then let's run the table, right? Let's run the table. So if you actually run the table, it becomes something like this, right? So you actually manage to create a brand new table, and you can ETL it. ETL is basically how you deal with the database. You can ETL it out of Microsoft SQL Server and create. This is the table I created from Microsoft SQL Server. Unfortunately, it only has until 2007. You have to save as a 2016 version and to XLSX. So yeah. And also another is, so this is basically like SQL. You have to write a lot of SQL queries, and I'm just going to show you really quick the queries and all that. So I'm just going to show you really quick. Yep. These are all simulated. So yeah, don't worry about like, company information whatsoever. The second one is, and what I do in Excel is I would report to the US government. So I'm going to make it the Washington Wizards, like a financial report by the Washington Wizards to, monumental sports and entertainment. So imagine the Washington Wizards trying to report to the US government. So like we're the Wizards and the government is MSE, Monumental Sports Entertainment. So basically what I did was as a data analyst, I have to, fill in the financial reports, and, usually my superiors will have the data uploaded in SharePoint. I just have to download them and basically create a weekly financial table. These are simulated, so don't worry. These are all simulated data. So, and I have to calculate and write a report. It's called data governance, and report it to my superior. It's pretty. It's actually, it sounds pretty tedious, but it's actually harder than it looks because you have to be really careful with the format and stuff. Like if we have an intern, I'll let the intern do this kind of stuff. But you have to write a function which allows you to be reactive. So when you create a new column, it will sum up for you. So the way to do it would be using SUMIFs function. I don't know if you guys see it, the SUMIFs function, which is very almighty. And yeah, it's just a lot of perks. So like I said, Excel is very, very powerful. So SQL is also very, very powerful. So yeah, so this is it. This is basically what I do. Can't complain. Definitely took me longer to get used to SQL, and I was very shocking to open the Pandora's box for Excel. So yeah, so if you're a data analyst or if you're interested in working data analytics, just, I hope this video is helpful. And if you're working in the same field, let me know what you guys do. And if you guys have a touch on building models and stuff, and yeah, just Thanks for watching. And if this video gets to maybe 100 views, I'll upload another video talking about the things I do. Thank you so much, and stay safe for the pandemic.